depreciation and fuel. So that's a lot of money. You have a lot of younger people in the big cities in the U.S. and I guess around the world also that are opting to not buy a car, and they're putting increasing demands on the metros and other systems. But cars today, of course, are not very fun. They're not smart, and the apps that we use in our car to make them more fun are generally stuck on our phones. So that's where Google and Microsoft, Apple, forget Microsoft. They like us to be talking about them, as they realize this opportunity to catch the manufacturers kind of off their guard, and they know how fractured that market is. So they've created an opportunity that allows us to come in behind them, because frankly, if every car today, if 100% of the autos from today forward used either of those technologies, they would only get 2% of the market per year, because it doesn't address the cars that are on the road for an average of, what, 12, 14 years is the estimate. And this is where, so they're frankly not addressing the existing billion cars on the road today. Vinli, that I will talk about in a little bit, is a connected car platform that provides a closed loop solution that works across the hardware itself, across the mobile device, connects to the wireless networks, and provides a platform or marketplace for publishing your applications. And many of the apps that are on the market today could be deployed on Vinli. The categories you might expect are infotainment in the vehicle, because once you have this device here has 4G connectivity through Gemalto's chipset. You can provide infotainment, streaming of Netflix and things like this, diagnostics and safety, and then of course efficiency, helping people be more efficient with the way they drive, the braking, the acceleration, and giving them scores. You can even make, Uber could distribute an app like this that allows their drivers to make more money essentially driving their cars, because they can take a quicker route, they can drive more efficiently, and maybe even save money on their insurance through usage-based insurance that the insurance providers will provide. So the general idea is you buy a device like this or get it from your wireless carrier, you plug it into your car, and you peruse or browse a catalog of applications. We don't intend to try to even create what Apple has with something like iLife. They make some best-of-class applications available under their own name. We're just doing some demonstration applications that I'll show you a few of. So we have applications that deal with things like maintenance. We have a clone of Automatic that's going to be our reference case for developer events, and we're open sourcing that project. So you can effectively take all the functionality of something like Automatic that's pretty well known in the marketplace, and fork it on GitHub and build other functionality around it, or adopt it to some local market like the Russian market. So we have a full suite of APIs and software developer kits for all the main platforms. Android is available today. The other three will be released over the next few months. And our rollout is scheduled for February. Mass markets in Europe, America, and in Asia. So let's see. There's also a fleet application. You can write applications. There's a demonstration app we've done called like a fleet tracker, but you can build really awesome applications for small to medium-sized businesses or large fleets with hardware that costs a fraction of what the likes of Enermac. I don't know what the other companies are here in maybe Russian technology, but companies like Intermac, whom I used to work for a long time ago, they sell $2,000 devices that go in a vehicle, like a truck, a big or small truck, maybe a delivery truck around town, and they charge somewhere around $200 to $300 per month for the wireless connectivity. A device like this will cost around $100 by comparison, and only $200 per year for service. So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as Square. Where the credit card processors and all the equipment companies used to charge an arm and a leg or a lot of money to these small mom and pop operations. And so basically they got stuck in a long-term contract that was very expensive, and then Square came to the market with a device they could give away for free and enable those people to collect more transactions. And it's gone pretty crazy. This product is available in two varieties. One is a very basic unit. This has Bluetooth, and the other adds Wi-Fi and 4G connectivity. And there's an enterprise version of that also. These are some of the apps I was talking about. Well, they look so awful here, but basically Armed is a way to lock your car and keep up with where it's located. Auto, these are all available online on the developer portal if you want to see the same stuff. Auto takes all the data from the OBD port and displays it in a way that's useful to you, the consumer, or your customer as a developer. You could build an app that effectively communicates the information that comes over that port and tells them problem developing with their car. They might need a replacement, and then this app demonstrates how you can then connect them with the mechanic, or put that job out to bid to different auto repair shops, so you could shop the job to different people and save some money. Some more categories where you might build applications with location-based services. We built an app for tracking like teen drivers, so you could put a geofence around your neighborhood or around the city, like the third ring or whatever, or the first ring, and say stay within this area, or let me know when they exceed a certain speed limit, or driving recklessly, or just geographically out of some zone. And I'm gonna skip over all this, Joe. There's a lot of players here. I don't know if any of these are here in Russia, but there's Automatic and Modus and Dash. Some of these could work on Vinli because we're dealing with a hardware problem, which is pretty complicated. This was bootstrapped in Texas, and it's going into production in China. But we're offering a platform that enables people to focus on the functionality they want to develop, and we make money off the API calls. We're not in the data business. You guys can be in the data business and collect all that data from your users and sell that to whomever you may. We'll focus on this piece. All the big guys are all going to have their own channels. We were just in Austin, Texas last week, talking with a guy that actually ran GM's developer evangelism program for their connected car strategy. He was giving us a lot of insight into how the big auto manufacturers are thinking about this, and it's very much a silo. It's as bad as having 15 mobile development platforms. We think we have it bad with 2 sets of code for Android and iOS, but imagine 15 or 20. It's going to be horrible. But they will allow some deeper integration. So we're actually partnering with some of these auto manufacturers so we can go beyond the functionality over OBD and get into some of the more detailed functionality, like starting a car, unlocking doors, and sending other data back to the car systems. So, you might have some more data on the Russian market here. We didn't include it. That's not part of our pitch to our investors. We'd love to hear from you guys about that. And it's obviously a very large market.
No cars in Russia, only beers.
Only what?
Only beers.
Beers.
Bears.
Beers.
Yeah.
Wolves, bears, hares.
So we're doing pre-orders of the hardware now. We're producing the developer kits in volumes of hundreds up to the end of the year, and then we'll be looking for developers that want to build solutions on the platform, just spotlighting the rollout. In the U.S., for instance, I know you guys build for other markets like Western Europe and maybe the U.S. markets. Any apps that you have that are really great ideas, Vinli will provide engineering support to make sure they're really good for launch time and feature them in some of the go-to-market materials like point of sale. The product will be sold in all the online retailers, the Amazons of the world, as well as the offline retailers like Best Buy and Apple Store and whatnot. So that's pretty much the pitch on Vinli. But I wanted to open up kind of a dialogue and discussion with Valentin here about opportunities in the Russian market to think about how we grow a community of developers interested in the space. I'm sure investors like yourself and others that are either looking at the Russian market or that are based here, they're looking for fruit to grow on the vine. And coming out of spaces like this where there's innovation that could be monetized, could be scaled, could be infused with capital, and could be exported internationally. And we want to see the same. So apps that could provide a lot of user value to the consumer market, and that could provide a much better in-car experience. So you want to talk about how that ties back into mobility. I talked a bit when you ran out about the mobility hackathon plans and prospective partners for that. I didn't really expect to have the opportunity to come back here 2 months after I was here last time, but I developed because of this conference, and so we said, why not do a hackathon, a meetup here and see if there was interest, meet some of the people that are already working in the connected car space, see if we might work together, because you guys that create the ideas are going to create new opportunities for people to get out of their boring jobs or to find a job out of school and to build a company that's really going to have some cool impact and to be a homegrown, opportunity.
Yeah.
I might want to say one more thing on that too. So in this world of clean web, we've been trying to get people to work on things that are actually going to matter, things that are going to have real impact. And you can, the general premise around this idea is that you can make money by doing good. We don't have to, we don't necessarily have to be out to save the rainforest and whatnot. But there's a lot of opportunities to improve upon the 700 million cars are on the road that are going to have an environmental impact, and you're going to have an economic impact as well.
Well, in fact, I don't want to talk too much. First of all, I don't know much about cars and car apps. Although I have written an article for Rusbase about connected cars. Yeah, by the way, some of you might have seen these articles on Hubber. This is translation of TechCrunch article and some article that I have wrote for Rusbase. Well, it's part my opinion about connected cars and partly translation of TechCrunch article about Vinli. So if you didn't understand something about Vinli from Blake's speech, not because Blake speaks with Texas accent, but because it might be hard to understand English. But we'll share links on these articles with you so you can get insights and get some information about these trends. This article that I translated for Hubber is really interesting. It's like history. It claims that connected cars is a revolution that didn't happen since Ford invented car manufacturing method, so mass car manufacturing. So I hope that we are on the edge of this revolution, but I remember, sorry, I said that I won't talk too much. But I remember that Moscow Jam that we began with, Mikhail, by the way, began 2.5 years ago with a small meetup that was also about like 20 people. But then this movement grew up to more than 100 people visiting Mail.ru Group office each month. So some Moscow Jam advertising here. And I just want to note that I have talked to Blake about this, and I have told him that if we're speaking about clean web, like this doing startups for good of humanity, then the best way to bring clean web, this community, to Russia is to bring it via connected car. And connected car is also something that Blake works on, so it's also his interest. So I hope that this meetup will be the start of a bigger community, and we may grow it in Russia, and then we'll come to this spring hackathon that we plan, that we are talking about with different partners, like it was mentioned with Moscow State University Science Park, with Moscow Department of Entrepreneurship and Industry and Science, so such a long name, and with Skolkovo, and with Microsoft, and I don't know. So I hope that we will come to this hackathon with a community of, well, let's say hundreds of developers, maybe. I would hope thousands of developers, but at least hundreds of developers in Russia.
And there's a real opportunity to tie the innovation here in with other clean web hubs around the world. We've got activity in about 20 countries. We have guys in Tehran and Tel Aviv, interestingly, and California and London. Got hackathons happening in Beijing. Going to Amsterdam next month. We're doing an event there. There will be a web summit. So there's a lot of grassroots things kind of blended with bigger conferences, and those are all opportunities to interconnect people. I'd say like people or skills and capital. And there's a lot of cross-pollination happening around the world. And in the clean web world, we've fielded a lot of inquiries from entrepreneurs, typically with their pitch decks that are looking for money around the world. And sometimes they're in markets that don't have as great of access to capital, like Rome or many places in Europe, where the capital is too expensive. And so they're naturally looking for some of the American investors.
So you're speaking about Discovery Fund.
Yeah, well, not so much that, but just the flow of deals and opportunities in general. Helping connect the dots in ways that a lot of times entrepreneurs can't, even if whether they're in Houston or Moscow or some other European city. It's difficult for them to have all that connectivity. So by spinning up this connected car community here in Moscow, that's part of the clean web, in my opinion, and we can help connect that with other things happening around connected car. We've started driving the hashtag quite a bit, on Twitter at least, so if you get out there and search for it. I was just on LinkedIn yesterday from the conference, kind of bored, and I looked up connected car there, and I found several dozen people there. Many of them are at some of the bigger auto manufacturers, but they are innovators like yourselves, and they want to be doing exciting work. And they kind of realize the problem of those silos I was discussing. So that's a bigger opportunity, and then we can also bring attention to Moscow if we do this connected car hackathon in the spring, where we can showcase real innovation coming out of here. And naturally, those folks either need sort of some lean startup sort of acceleration things like you guys do here, or they want to get into other accelerators like you went to in Prague and Kiev and Amsterdam, Rockstart, or they're looking for follow-on investment that brings in your usual band of venture capitalists. And not all of them are attuned to this opportunity. You're probably pretty early in the space. In our world, they're kind of looking at companies like Dash and Automatic as the only two players. So in many cases, you need someone to beat the drum or to get the interest and awareness built for things that are happening here.
Yeah. So in general, this was. I understand that this all might look like kind of some marketing talk, like evangelism, like be with connected car and pray for Vinli. But no, in fact, as we have this first meetup here, and well, it's great that you had the chance to organize this meetup. And by the way, Blake told me about like why won't we organize this meetup? I said, oh shit, man, it's like 5 days left. What can we do? But we managed to do something. So I just want to ask for feedback. Well, feedback is important, and it's important for us. Your opinion is important. Opinion on connected cars trend, opinion on how it might work in Russia. There are some experienced entrepreneurs in this space here, and opinion from developers. What do you want and what do you search from? What you might look for from a platform that Vinli wants to bring to you. So maybe as Inakenti is our special guest here, at least I
should have let you lead and introduce the market.
Maybe Inakenti, you can start and tell us your opinion about our plans. And yeah.
Please.
Thank you very much. Like, thank you very much for such nice start of the discussion, and it's a big pleasure to see you here. Was only 1 month ago we see your fantastic result on TechCrunch, and you're right now. When my friends saw your TechCrunch presentation, they told me that our company is dead. But I don't think so. First of all, my question to you about the technology.
Blake, I think you should. Maybe we will
I thought maybe
do
he was going to talk a bit about the space and give a
yes.
Russian spin on it. Should we do it?
Sit down, and Blake, you sit down. Yeah, so don't go away. Yes. So let's.
It's like Oprah.
Yeah.
I assume that you use quite standard technology to connect to the car, even PPT interface. This technology exists a long time, and a lot of companies produce such kind of devices. And this technology has a lot of limitations, you know, maybe. So you have a limited access to the card. You can read some information about the card, but you can't do anything with the car. You can't write to the car any comments. So from my point of view, all these applications which are already built for such kind of devices, they are like a play toy for the consumers, because they play with them some months like automatic, and then they
Forget about it,
yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, so you have a great idea about application market for your device, but from my point of view, such kind of technology is not very useful for the customer.
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the value is in creating a suite of applications so you don't end up with that single functionality or single utility. Not to dog on Automatic, but if it's a closed box, you can't really do anything more with it. They can continue to increase the functionality of the device, but I think it'll come from, just like the walled garden we used to have, as we call it, at least in the US, with the carriers. You had one phone with their applications, and Nokia was kind of the only game in town.
Okay.
And then once you open up the app stores, and you had the hardware that was attractive to developers, the hardware and the software landscape, that kind of exploded the market. And we saw that early on. In fact, this space reminds me of the smartphone market today, because this device we all have, or something like it in our pockets, most of us here, no one saw many people didn't see the reason to have Apple's first iPhone. But we did a hackathon the week after the first iPhone came out called iPhone Dev Camp. We had 500 people there. There were no SDKs. All you could do is optimize your website for the screen. And people were on that very quickly and realizing the opportunity. It was 2 and 3 years later that our wives and friends and family said, oh, I've got to have an iPhone because I can play Words with Friends or something like that. And now we see the crazy extent of options available through here. And many of those apps have kind of, the app ideas have gone to the vehicle, right? Things that you can use in the car, but unfortunately it doesn't work too well when you're trying to drive. And it's illegal in many markets, right? In the US, San Francisco, you get big tickets if you drive and mess with your phone. And that's where this sort of CarPlay projection idea works well, the Apple and Google approach. So we think that while the data is just a starting point to be able to read the data and create applications for it, there's a lot of valuable services you can create. Like I was referencing a few, usage-based insurance, right? There's a huge market you could create. It's a great business model, right? Because it's all very static today. You just pay these rates and they have no data about you. There's one company, you probably have them here too. There's one in the U.S. that will send you a device. You plug in, it's OBD. You plug it in, and they monitor your driving for about six weeks, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, they send you an email, so you send the device back. We have enough data now. And they adjust your plan, but that takes up my port. You can only have one thing in there at a time. But on something like a platform like Vinli or many others, I'm sure they'll be on the market soon, you could build that as a feature. And that could maybe be the Trojan horse that gets your device in the car, and then you layer on other services. So you don't see it terribly limiting, because you can also go to each manufacturer and do certain deals to give developers access to some of the control aspects of the vehicle.
I think it's not possible because automotive companies, they have a lot of limitations.
Yeah.
They don't like when somebody go inside the car, especially when a lot of young developers start to make applications to drive the car.
The whole hacking the
That's
car
the point I wanted to mention. So, Blake, do you think that we will see some growth of this sphere of application for apps? So, I mean that we will see more opportunities to use Vinli to do something with car, not just to get an information. And on the other hand, won't this thing bring up more responsibility to developers and some more security issues? So if you want to do something with car, it's not your phone, you understand?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a phone. It's
There's naturally some security issues, maybe even privacy issues, but those have also been dealt with through things like RFID for toll collection, right? Where the toll authority knows where you've been at what time exactly, and sometimes that data is subpoenaed by governments or maybe divorce courts, looking to know what spouse was where, and those sorts of things. But I think those problems have been kind of solved, and the privacy issue has been loosened a bit. I mean, maybe the perspective of privacy in the consumer's mind has been loosened quite a bit by social networks. They're determining with whom they share, what they share and with whom. But maybe the older generation thinks that Big Brother is collecting lots of data, and certainly the NSA has given us reason to worry about these things. But it's this trade-off, right? It's like, well, do you want a smartphone to do all these things, or do you want to live in the Stone Age with a rotary dial phone? But I think in terms of you asked another question about the opportunity.
will this opportunity appear, or so it's a balance of opportunities versus security, like.
I think it's opening entirely new business models. I mean, the insurance thing is one. Basically giving the auto manufacturers a lot of insight into the vehicle. That's part of the article that you rewrote, I think, or you translated, talking about how once a car leaves the manufacturer, the dealership's lot, once you buy the car and go, they have no connection with the user. In the U.S., at least, they try to get you to come back to change the oil or to replace something. And some of the newer cars, like a Lexus or something, will send you. They try to maintain more of a sort of customer relationship, but this enables you to create those applications that create that relationship, and in as many dynamic ways as we've seen with the general web itself and the mobile web on mobile phones, right? I also think it will extend whole movements like the sharing economy. So we're talking with one of the guys from the founder of Peerby in Amsterdam.
I have a couple of people who are doing car sharing. So Pavel and a guy who is doing Vladimir, who is doing something like BlaBlaCar. Pavel is doing something like Zipcar.
So if you're in the sharing market, think about being able to allow anyone to share their car. It's very much like Get Around, which I'm not sure where it expanded outside the U.S. I'm sure you're familiar.
Maybe we will ask Pavel's opinion.
He will speak English.
Okay, Pavel is Владимир,
Enabling some of the sharing economy things. Yeah.
ну, может быть, давайте я попробую перевести. Just a second, I'll try to translate.
Okay, sure. Мы делаем проект, который называется Шаракар.
Pavel is working on a project that's called Sharakar.
Изначально он планировался по модели Get Around, но сейчас мы изменили бизнес-модель и собираемся делать по модели Zipcar, Free Float модель.
So originally it was planned to use get around business model. Don't ask me what is it, but now they have switched to Zipcar business model, free float.
И мы интересовались и встречались с Иннокентием по вопросу установки прибора для возможности доступа к автомобилю без ключевого со смартфона и возможности отслеживать местонахождение автомобиля и заглушить дистанционно двигатель.
And they have talked with Nakenti about opportunities to get keyless access to the car through the smartphone, and about the opportunity to
Do the ignition or something?
sorry, to switch off the engine and to see where the car is. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, to see car's location. Yeah.
Поэтому нас интересует ваш прибор, ваша разработка.
That's why Pavel is interested in what you are doing. So maybe a few more words about Vinli for car sharing, for Zipcar-like. Yeah.
We want to enable. We know how difficult the hardware is. I mean, it's not easy. It's there's actually 3 different models. There's some embedded Linux. Some of it has embedded Linux. There's Java midlets through the Gemalto board. We try to take care of all the difficult back-end things so that people can innovate on the business model and the user experience. And we just make money like AWS, or the API calls. And I was just getting to the point about Get Around, because they enable you to create a zip car out of your own car, for those of you who don't know, and you just put a device in your car. I think it connects to the OBD, but it's just for unlocking the doors. So when you swipe your card, or maybe through your phone, you can say unlock the car. It knows that you have access. And you can share your own vehicle in some basis. And I think you get to set some of the rates. But Vinli could enable anyone to create a get-around model in whatever market, or however big of a market. Then it allows you to focus on that piece of the business. And more to the point, we're focused on getting this device in as many vehicles internationally as possible. We want as big a piece of that market of 700 million as absolutely possible. So we're brokering deals with the largest wireless carriers internationally, to where they're going to actually subsidize this device and give it away.
Yeah. So this is what you should think about. Like Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I hope you don't know. Like Instagram does not sell iPhones or Android phones. Like you won't need to sell devices. You don't need to plug devices. Vinli takes this part on itself and tries to distribute these devices. And your mission is only to write software and to think about business models for using these devices. So that means that, in fact, that means that we'll, if everything goes right, then we'll see that every car is app enabled. So you can write an app for any car in the world, and you don't need to think about some hardware that it needs.
So look at Apple. The earliest commercials of the iPhone didn't focus on the hardware. And it's like the PC manufacturer didn't learn the lesson. Remember, they were mad, like the Dells of the world? They were talking about specs and all this small print about the specs, and Apple was talking about colors of the iMac. They're like, that's so stupid. But Apple understood that consumers were interested in design and colors more than they cared about the specs. In fact, they were more interested in the apps. That's something that Jobs brought back to Apple. He said, we've got to have amazing apps that work well on these machines and seamlessly. What you see in the... I lost my train of thought there for a second. So in the case of the hardware, I totally forgot. I was thinking of another company in the U.S. that's U.S. based. I won't name it, but they're creating some apps that are pretty successful in this kind of smart car world. But when they decided strategically not to be in the device business, and on their way to Zombie, one of them.
Yeah.
There's another one, and a couple others. But they didn't focus on the devices. So in order to use their software, you have to get some sort of OBD device, probably like the one you have there in the back. And on their page, they point you to a variety of cheap Chinese devices that cost between $10 and $80 roughly. And it's a deal breaker for the consumer because they're confused. It's kind of like Apple; they made everything kind of seamless. And so we want to provide the same experience. Get the device in the consumer's hand, make the deal with the carrier so they're willing to put it in the stores. In the U.S., for example, AT&T has 2,200 retail outlets. That's just their official company stores that are pretty big. They look like Apple stores. They're pretty nice. And they have all these sections. They're about to put a connected car section in the stores. It's going to offer a variety of solutions. So they're going to be doing the hard work of convincing the consumer that this market has arrived. Kind of like Apple. It's like, hey, look at all this wonderful stuff you can do with your smartphone. You should go buy one and trade in your old junky phone. Your old Nokia.
Okay, but from my point of view, you can't make your solution fully connected to the car. It's not a connected car solution.
Yeah.
For example, you have a music system in your house, yes, and you want to manage your music system remotely by your smartphone. Yes, this is useful. You can turn on music, you can turn off music, you can make it louder, not loud, you can change the music, you can play music from your iPhone, from anywhere.
Yeah.
This is one. But your solution looks like you can look at your smartphone and see what kind of music did you listen last evening, how much time did you listen this music, and where is your music right now is located in the house.
By the way, you are speaking about house, and I have read in this article about connected cars that connection between car and house, it's also very interesting. Like when you approach the garage doors.
Can I finish?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
From my point of view, the future is on a technology which are fully connected to the car.
Yeah.
And you need to work closely with automotive manufacturers to develop not only software but also to develop the hardware which will be integrated with the car standard functionality. So for example, our company, we have the device, the solution called Remoto. This is a device and the full technology which could be integrated in the car, and you can manage your car remotely. You can start engine, you can stop engine, you can open, close the doors.
Right.
You can see where the car is located. You can also see how much time did you spend in your car and everything you right now discussed. This is a real full connected car solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to distribute it because you can't just put this in OBD2 device. It should be installed in the car dealer or anywhere else. This is a limitation. But right now we are working closely with manufacturers that our solution will be pre-installed in the factory. And in September already 300 cars was already pre-installed in the factory in Russia and will be sold in October here. So this is a strategy which will help you to make a lot of cars really connected.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the deeper integration. But you got to go make those deals, as you obviously did, with each manufacturer. And they will open up. Dash in the U.S. announced, for instance, that they are doing a deal with Ford and maybe Ford and maybe.
This is difficult, yes, but this is a real barrier to enter this market because solution which connects to OBD device, there are a lot of such kind of solutions. And there is no barrier to entry this market.
Which solution do you talk about?
We have solution called Remoto. По-русски можно. Ремотно. Да. Есть сайт myremoto.ru. Сейчас это решение, оно адаптировано не для всех брендов. Это Kia, Nissan, Hyundai, еще несколько. И на заводе Kia оно уже предустановлено.
Sergey, do you want to add something?
Yeah. I have a question. Do you have a plan to expand the functionality of your hardware? So on the way the getting talked.
Yeah, I certainly think that's a natural path. First is doing deals with different auto manufacturers that have proprietary ways to control the car. I think that'll happen, but I'm also thinking of the opportunity presented when you have. It reminds me again of Apple and iTunes, right? The music, they went and did deals individually with the record labels until they had the upper hand from the marketplace, and they had 200 million credit cards on file. Well, then they got to kind of unbundle the album and dictate some of the more of the rules. So I think it'll be interesting to see. And the fact is, whether you're a diehard fanatic of Lada or BMW or whatever other manufacturer, you probably have different makes of vehicles that you own, right? So it's very frustrating. It's like moving between mobile devices. To become an Android person and move to Windows, you're like, oh, I don't have this there, I don't have that there, and you're like, it's very frustrating as a consumer. So I think we'll see some interest in the manufacturers in solutions that do work across the various manufacturers or have a large installed base. So given what you can do today, almost like the original iPhone, you didn't have an SDK, much like not being able to talk to the car, but you could at least you could do things, that were interesting to the user with the first generation iPhone. And as we had hundreds of millions more devices in the field, it became increasingly powerful to provide services to the users. I think we'll see something like that.
If you sell 100 million devices, you're the winner.
Yeah, our goal is distribution because we want to create the environment where people can build anything for the automobile, and I think there will be a lot of solutions like yours that are providing more addressable functionality in the vehicle, but I guess they might have, and hopefully they have a lot of uptake. Like Automatic's doing great, I think. I don't know their sales numbers, but a lot of people think that's very interesting, and I do think they get tired of it quickly. But if you could do a range of other things across other categories like maintenance and safety and efficiency and infotainment, then people are kind of satisfied for some period of time. And then as we go get these deals, other direct deals, we and other companies, right? As that space becomes more developed, it's kind of like smartphone. Well, the Nokia you have doesn't look so exciting anymore. Now you're like, you want Nokia to create the iPhone, which took them another 3 years.
Our problem that we developed the software by ourselves. We have a very good idea that we can outsource all this software to third-party developers. We will use this idea.
Then we need to talk. We've got the hardware ready for you. Come on.
Yes, so in fact it's like different types of approach. While in again this company tries to approach to take all this sphere, well, when it's on start, yeah, you want to distribute devices and to have some to tell manufacturers that you have some value. Like to come to manufacturer and to say, like, you see, we have 100 million devices. Let's do something with this. Yeah, Vladimir, you wanted to ask something?
My question was close to yours, because aren't you afraid that you will be undermined by manufacturers?
Like when Blake sells 100 million devices,
That's a great idea. I like that.
Let's think about this way. Then yeah,
That's like being concerned. I mean, every year it's I guess when they did Macworld every year, all the developers sat nervously in the crowd to see who Apple was going to put out of business because they weren't in the business of buying companies like Google and others are now. I guess they're buying more with Tim Cook in charge, but people are always sitting on the edge of their seat wondering who they were going to put out of business, like adding some functionality. But I think the problem is they're all going to have, GM's not going to do anything that's going to help Volvo or Lotto or Range Rover. They all think they've got the best ideas in their R&D labs, and all the people selling those technologies, OSI Soft and QNX and others, it's things they have to do anyway because all the control systems in the car need to become more. Consumers are expecting, the Facebook mobile experience, and we're living in the 1970s and 80s in our cars.
Yeah.
So that demand is there, but I think that's going to be the thing that solves this cross-platform. What I mentioned earlier about, we know what to expect across Android and iOS, but now we're going to have dozens of different manufacturer solutions. And I think that's going to increasingly be a driver of what car people choose, because you get in the Mercedes and you see a certain experience, you get in BMW, and that's a great experience too. Maybe find a better example. Maybe GM. You get in like a GM vehicle and you say, "Wow, this feels like it's like old technology,"
What car do you drive, by the way?
I have a, what do I have? VW. VW and a Volvo.
Where is we have one startup media here, and they always when they have interview with entrepreneurs, the last question that they ask, what car do you drive? So, yeah.
Question.
How do you think when car manufacturers will create some SDKs for their car, and who will be the first?
We'll create what?
SDKs.
Oh, SDKs.
SDKs, yeah.
Well, they are. That's why I mentioned in my talk earlier, hanging out in Austin last week with the guy from GM. Yeah, in fact, they had a year-long developer evangelism program that this guy ran, and they missed their ship date for the vehicles. So when you miss a ship date in the car world, you miss a whole model year. So you got to wait a whole other year to release things. And then there's news of certain auto manufacturers kind of jumping on the Apple or Google ship to basically outsource that ingenuity or whatnot. So it's a really big bet for them to build it internally. It's like Nokia trying to change all of a sudden become an iPhone competitor. It's a huge sea change. It's very difficult. Like Microsoft over the last, 6 years? It's like trying to change direction of a freightliner.
So it's funny that we see, for example, smartphone updates like once a year. Like every year we have iPhone next, iPhone +1, and while each year thousands of apps appear for this iPhone, and in fact it means that every year user experience changes a lot via these thousands of apps that might be brought on your iPhone, and on your user experience depends on what apps you have on your phone. So that means that Vinli is doing something of this kind for automotive industry. But the cycle in automotive industry is even longer. But still, thousands of apps might appear every year. But well, it depends on the number of ideas you can get. By the way, we can switch to this part: ideas for connected cars.
So I heard, for example, in one of the big auto manufacturers, one of the international auto manufacturers, they this screen that is in the vehicles in the 2015 model that just started shipping in August this year has a screen, a touch screen in it that was spec'd 3 years ago. It meant they decided what screen they were going to produce in China 3 years ago. And that screen, while it has a WebKit browser on it, which is a modern web browser, like whatever edition of WebKit or version, the screen that was spec'd was only meant to control the air conditioner controls and the radio. So now you got a screen that was spec'd by engineering. It's like hardware and software were two different camps, like two different companies. And they said this only needs to be controlled the air conditioner. So now they put a car in the market that's being updated by software, and the consumer gets in that car and they think it's going to work like an iPad. It's like a kid using a computer and they don't realize they have to use the mouse because they expect it to be like an iPad. So they're punching on this screen and nothing's working.
Problem of car manufacturer that they have about 5 years period of developing new models, so IT technology is developing much faster. So anyway, in any new car you will see a very old IT technologies.
Now it's made me think of Tesla when you're asking the question, because Tesla's really pushing, I think, going to put a lot of pressure on all manufacturers, right? Whether it's Mercedes or some old American car manufacturer. Because they're pushing down those updates like we expect from our iPhone these days. It's like 8.02 comes out the week after the new phone. 801, 802, and that's causing a lot of problems in the US, or maybe other problems in Europe, where you have these distribution models where the dealership is only allowed to interact with the customer, not the manufacturer. So in the US,
in the different states it's different, and Tesla has this
laws. The government tries to the state government in Texas might say, you can't deliver that update to the user because that user is supposed to go to the dealership to get their update.
And Tesla doesn't work it.
That's like saying you have to go to the state liquor store to buy, if the consumer that's used to the iPhone experience says, that's crazy, I want my update. So I think that's going to put a lot of interesting pressure on the manufacturers.
Sergey?
So, what do you think about this dramatic gap between the automotive industry and the IT industry? Because I think the automotive industry is a very high level, high technology industry. They make a sports car. They move every day and move very fast. So they equip your engine with the electrical and electronic devices very quickly. Why there are 5 years, as you talk, the gap between progress in automotive industry and IT industry.
Yeah, why cycle in automotive industry can't be as short as in IT industry?
Because car is much more difficult than the computer.
They have to think about safety.
Safety and standards are important. You can release an app with some bugs, but you can't release car with bugs. If you release car with bugs, you sometimes do release car with bugs, but it's very bad for you. And if you are BMW or Ferrari, and it's very, very bad for you.
If your app will crash, you will be okay. But if your car will crash, this will not go.
Yeah.
Well, the other problem
I
is
agree.
too, this phone, this Nexus 5 will end up in some third world country when I'm done with it in 6 months, you know. Whereas a car is going to be on the road here in Moscow for 12 years. Even these new BMWs driving around, they're going to be on the roads, they're going to be rusted and old and whatever, but they're still going to be on
So
the
you
road.
don't need such short cycle. You mean this? You don't need such short cycle for.
Well, I was saying the fact that the fact that it's going to be
car
in
is used
circulation,
for longer time.
it's got to be. They have to figure out what all the parts that go in. Like when you were talking about the 5-year sort of switch over to a new model, they pretty much stretch it as long as they can, and some of them stretch it longer than others. But they also have to deal with all the parts that go into that car need to be available for 12 years. The electronics,
compare the development of new model of cars with the new model of phone. It's a great idea. I talk about the speed of development. So why they can in maybe 6 months develop the new IT feature in the car. So like CarPlay or something else. So I think it's not a problem with the safety because it's the only infotainment or something else.
Why the media systems and entertainment systems in the cars are so dumb even today, even in new cars? This is the question.
who cares if you have Bluetooth? You can just stream Beats music or Google Play to it. That's what everybody does. They kind of bypass even the stuff that's fairly new. My kids jump in, they plug in the aux cable. But I think the IT industry is putting pressure on it. And Elon Musk, of course, coming from the web technology world, saying, hey, we can beat Detroit at its own game. We can create a car. It's going to take hundreds of millions of dollars to do it.
Tesla is another case. Elon Musk is from IT industry.
But that's creating a lot of pressure. They're scared. I think they're scared of like what Tesla's proving. Hey, because we've been told to expect, oh, autos are complex and therefore you shouldn't expect much from them. It's like old appliance manufacturers. We say, oh, it requires state subsidies and whatever. But Tesla's proven they almost died. I guess the 2008 crash kind of almost killed them. But thanks to some taxpayer dollars, they.
Elon Musk is an interesting example of a newcomer to the industry who disrupts the industry. So.
I think the answer is very simple because all car manufacturers it's very old companies. They exist more than 50 or 80 years or 100 years. And the structure of these companies is very difficult. It's a lot of bureaucracy. It's not possible to move fast. In my previous business, I worked closely with automotive manufacturers to implement IT software for them. The project with such companies was a total disaster. So they think so long. So
don't fall.
It's not possible to make something faster in such kind of companies. This is the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe they will be all dead in 10 years for this company.
Maybe Tesla and
Maybe
maybe we'll see more
Microsoft
Teslas. More guys from IT will come like you guys and we'll give a demo. It's all question.
If you're talking about safety, there is lots of publicity systems in the future, like Everglass, eCall in Europe, I don't remember how it's called in the USA, which are already connected to web, already have GPS. Why don't you think they can expand their functionality and also connect to OBD, to CAN, or etc., and there will be...
So e-call is a good point. I should have brought up earlier. That's a great opportunity. The fact that, kind of like in the sustainability world, where the cities are, in order to meet some of the challenges posed by water, scarcity or energy scarcity or the price of electricity, is they're mandating change, and that kind of unlocks new markets. Like in New York, the city decided to mandate what they call the building benchmarking, to where much like the restaurant score you see on the windows of restaurants in many markets, they forced the building owners to put a score about the sustainability score, or the score of the buildings, for instance. So in Europe, Ertico is mandating this whole e-call functionality. We're actually working with Ertico in Europe, to where that's another Trojan horse. So people are going to get that because they've seen the value of calling home when there's a crash.
They say that almost the same thing is coming to Russia.
Yeah. So that's a great enabler that's mandated by governments, both regional and national, in the EU and Russia sense. In the U.S., it's been owned by GM through their OnStar product, and they've been expanding that as a revenue source because the margins on the vehicles are pretty thin, whereas they can make this money on services that customers are used to paying for some value. And so they're looking to expand that, but again, it only works across GM's cars. They did create a clip-on, I think it's like a replaceable aftermarket mirror for the vehicle, to where it provides OnStar functionality. And we're looking for ways to open that up to developers. In fact, we were talking with some of those guys recently, and we said we're pretty much going to give that functionality away, which probably a little bit threatening.
There is a question.
I honestly do not fully understand why the car manufacturers, auto manufacturers, would be interested in making their old cars smarter. Because they sold this GM car 5 years ago, and why they would be interested in changing their hardware, letting new developers in their car to make it smarter.
They
sold that car and it is not already on their maintenance.
Yeah, they can earn more money with a car in which my remote device is installed, and they can sell it. Yeah.
It will be even longer.
Well,
they don't need to let somebody to do it, because this protocol to integrate with OBD interface is open. You can do it if you want.
So with OBD interface, you
because
could open
this
the car, you could have all the...
No, this is a standard interface. It was developed in USA to test them in...
Mechanics or something?
Not mechanics,
Exhaust.
Oh, right.
Police officers,
emissions.
They test
emissions.
выхлоп газа. It was developed as a standard in USA at first, and it's right now a standard for all cars. So it's not possible right now to any manufacturer just to close this interface.
But I think the angle on your question I heard was why, if they already sold cars and made money off those vehicles, like they sold this many widgets and they made this much money, well, now's a chance to go out for any brand. Like I use the example of Volvo all the time for some reason. But all those cars are out there. They could enhance the consumer experience of all those millions and millions of vehicles that are on the road around the world. They could provide more Volvo sort of brand experience by building something on a Vinli or any other platform. And they could extract more money, and they could also maybe enhance some of the customer loyalty. So they could enhance the chance that increase the chance you might buy a Volvo as your next car. And a lot of people they don't want to get rid of their car just because it's 5 years old. A lot of people lease cars because they want a new car every 2 or 3 years. But on the other hand, Volvo is a great example because people fall in love with these cars, and they drive them 10, 15
they have
years.
Great ads.
So what? Great
ads.
Yeah, great ads.
Oh,
and,
no, it's Volkswagen that has great ads.
Volkswagen.
Oh, sorry, not Volvo.
So Volvo or whatever, it's like, I don't want to get rid of my car, but I'm missing the fact it doesn't have the latest features of what he bought last year or next year. So they can enhance the consumer value, delivering fun, the efficiency, the safety. So what if they did provide the OnStar e-call type service, and they may even send me a free device because their business model says if I just get that guy to bring his car back to the dealership one time, I might pay for that, right? They can do some fun stuff.
Do you think that we might see some apps from car manufacturers, and that these apps might have some exclusive functionality? Like I won't let anyone else's app to start an engine, but Volvo's app might do this, like starting an engine from smartphone, for example.
No, they already.
I mean, you have, but for Vinli, Vinli platform can Vinli platform enable such?
Not today, but we're in talks with both for aftermarket usage and for embedding in new autos as well, like you were talking about. Because I think that manufacturers realize the challenge. I mean, they have a huge opportunity ahead of them with the new cars they ship. But like I said, there's 1 billion cars on the road, and they can help structure that chaos a bit.
There is Kirill.
Yeah, may I have a question in Russian for better understanding? Насколько я понимаю, во-первых, вопрос, как он относится к Android Auto, и, значит, насколько я понимаю, Android Auto очень избирательно и медленно, так же как и CarPlay от Apple, подходит к выбору приложений, к публикации своих, да, заявок в платформах, которые будут, да. Первый, да, частично вытекающий отсюда второй вопрос, как они будут подходить к оценке, сертификации приложений разработчиков, или будут они вываливать все, кто это будет сертифицировать и на каком основании?
So, what do you think about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and about apps that they have on their platform, and about the launch cycle of these apps being enabled on their platform, about the launch cycle of apps being tested, and so on? And what about you? How do you gonna approach this? Will you have this launch cycle? Will you do some process of certification of the apps? How will you approach to this problem on your platform? That's a good question about platform. That's a problem of platform. What?
So in my opinion,
what requirements will you have for developers? Because platform, it's my edition. Platform is great, but the problem of platform is that there are apps of all kinds of quality. So you need to.
we'll probably have to ban pornography apps or something like that.
Why?
So it doesn't work well with driving, I guess.
Yeah, who will judge?
Someone's going to have to curate this. But I think I meant to say something earlier about the timing, or maybe you were talking about the timing. It's kind of like, why are we here tonight, and why connected car now? Why is smart mobility possible? I think it's because of what's happening to auto manufacturers. The expectation that the mobile phone is now set with 4G connectivity, social integration, and then the likes of Tesla. But also because the two big tech giants, the primary giants, Apple and Google, have decided this is like, they've been talking about conquering the living room for a long time, right? 10 years or better. Oh, Microsoft's going to own the living room, or Google, or whomever, and Chromecast is probably the most successful thing to date. And that's in fact exactly what Apple and Google have launched, is Chromecast for the car. So instead of having to fumble with this device while you're driving and all this, is you can just have it pop up on the screen. And it's not just for new cars. There's actually Pioneer, this car stereo manufacturer, just announced an aftermarket device where you can change out your car stereo screen with a device that I was really shocked how expensive it is. It's $800 to $1,600. So no small investment to turn your car into something that could run Google Play. I think in that case it is Apple's and CarPlay. But I think the folks know those are kind of fun things, and they're not really doing much beyond that. So again, back to the aftermarket. How many of the billion cars on the road today are going to go get equipped with a new Pioneer head unit, or whatever might come out from Alpine and other stereo manufacturers? So for me, that and the increasing interest in taking that last piece of dumb technology in our lives, the car, and making it smart, is a really great lineup in terms of timing. Because auto manufacturers, they've already slipped quite a bit. Some of the ones that promised to ship CarPlay early are now talking about the next model year and the next model year. So, but it's gotten a lot of people interested, and now people's eyes are open, like these articles we've all seen lately. All the carriers have connected car people on staff. The guy that wrote one of those articles is from Telefonica. If you look at LinkedIn, all the car companies have connected car groups. And it's getting to be an exciting time.
Yeah, it's great, but the question is about your platform and your approach to the apps, to certification of apps.
That's a great question.
If you don't have anything to say right now, you can.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's been ironed out yet, frankly, because we're not launching till first quarter. So I'll have to get back to you on that piece.
Okay.
So no answer.
Ответ будет позже.